Theta healing. What makes theta healing so incredible? Theta healing changed my entire experience of life in about a year and a half. So, about a year and a half ago, a year and 7 months, a year and 8 months ago, I literally thought myself and my dog were going to end up on the streets of Cape Town. I have reached a point where I was completely burned out. I just didn't see the way forward anymore. I was working so hard. I wasn't making money. I was completely burned out. I had entrepreneur burnout. I was just done. I was just done, you know. And you might be able to relate to that. I was just done. And then my good friend Nianel said to me, Adrian, how about you enroll in the Theta Healing Coaching? I think it was starting in like 2 weeks or something like that from there. And of course, I had my doubts. I mean, also at this point, I've already been a practicing spiritualist. I've been a hypnosis practitioner for a couple of years already. I've had great success. I've presented some courses. I'm a tarot reader. I'm a Reiki master, like a whole lot of things. NLP, the whole vibes. I've done it all. Crystal healing, all of it. Okay. And I was like, well, what's the point? Like, seriously, what's the point? I've tried it all. I've done it all. I've put my heart into it all. And this is where I'm coming to. I'm at a point where I can't pay rent for an apartment that I absolutely despise living in, that is costing me a fortune, that is so crappy that I can't even take a shower, otherwise, the water flows all the way down into the passageway, with a landlady who is just nasty, so nasty. And I was like, what is the point to this? I mean, seriously, I'm a good person. I really, really am. And by the way, my name is Adrian Nelson. I'm a life transformation guide. And I want to tell you about theta healing because it is so profoundly powerful. It has changed my whole experience of life. And um, this technique doesn't have to take forever to change your life. In fact, I say to clients, you know what? One session can change your whole experience of life. If you are really serious about changing your life, book 5 sessions. Now, at the point of me saying this, this is true, but always check. You book 5 sessions. I only charge you for 4. You can share it with your friend or loved one or whoever. But if you book 5 sessions for yourself, oh, trust me when I tell you, your life will change. And I have helped people move through the most difficult times in their life. Similar situations to what I was in, getting divorced, opening their hearts to love, moving from a more corporate environment to a more sort of like holistic, spiritual wellness sort of focused environment, moving change, changing jobs, cities, starting their own job, all that sort of stuff. Many, many things, whatever. So this is how this technique works so powerfully. What it does, first of all, it works on all 4 your belief levels: core, genetic, history, and soul. Just this alone changed so much for me. Most healing modalities only work on the core level, which is sort of like the frontal lobe. But in order for you to be able to release a pattern, call it forgiveness, if you will. Forgiveness is your superpower because it releases you from karma, basically. It releases you from what's holding you back. But here's the thing. If you do not understand what you are getting from what you are holding on to, you can forgive and release and burn incense and, get the most powerful crystal and do whatever you want to do. It is going to continue coming back because your mind gets something from it. Your mind's your whole nervous system. All right? A lot of us have grown up in the world where we have pretty much been trained to be stressed and overwhelmed all the time. We've learned that. A lot of us grew up in very difficult homes, in very difficult environments. And a lot of times the reason why, people are so good at, just taking care of everything is because from a young age we have learned that if you can control the room, then you can feel safe, then you can feel calm. And that is actually where empath ability is typically developed. It's developed through stress. because you have to be hyper vigilant all the time. And you have, you become very good at reading the room, at feeling the energy, at refining those senses. You may not know that you're picking it up through your scent or body movements or stuff like that, but that's how you pick it up. So you have the ability to really calm a dragon, but you become even more profoundly so better at preventing the dragon from even being in the room. So it becomes your lifelong task for you to keep the peace. And then you get to this exhausting experience where you are able to help everybody except yourself. It is not a nice experience to have. Okay? And where you experience the trauma in life is where you get stuck. And that affects your whole nervous system. It affects your digestive system. So the reason why sometimes you get adults, and this can be so maddening when you say, can't they act like an adult? Why do they have to act like a child? They never progress beyond that point. So they can't act like an adult because it's never developed inside of them. And then you become a people pleaser. Now, when we have unresolved trauma, we start to wear one of three masks in order to be able to cope with it. So in order to deal with it, you become either a victim or a savior or a perpetrator. Or another word for perpetrator is like a prosecutor. And we normally shift these with others, because all saviors are secretly waiting to be saved. Victims want love. They're seeking for love. They're seeking for attention. They're seeking for comfort. Okay? And they understand that they can maybe only get it if they get sick, if they throw a tantrum, if they burst into tears. It's hard. It's what we learned. All right? It's so easy to judge, but it's what you learn. Perpetrators are just tired of always trying. And, another way of really just getting attention or to kind of just tell people how you feel, to be heard. We all want to be heard. So with the Theta healing technique, what I love about it so much is because now I've studied a lot of things, I've studied hypnotherapy, NLP, Reiki, crystal healing, so many things. The silver method, a little bit of tapping, like EFT tapping, a little bit of that, like a whole lot of things, a bit of neuroscience, studied a lot of stuff. So what Theta healing does is it brings all those beautiful modalities together in a very structured way. And that is why a session doesn't have to take forever. You can have a 1 hour session and it can be profoundly life-shifting. All in one. Even I do a baby in the womb healing for every single first time session that I do, unless Spirit advises me otherwise. And what's profound about baby in the womb healing is that, you can get to this point where you say, okay, this is how I feel, because it's all about the feeling. Our nervous system understands feeling. We are only aware of about 2 or 3% of everything that happens around us. So based on your beliefs, based on your epigenetics, based on your, the things that you inherited from your family, because we are just copies of copies. Okay? And it's so easy to judge other people, but you see the world based on the seat that you are sitting on or that you're viewing them from. So if you see all beauty and love, you're coming from beauty and love. When you see all irritation and that sort of stuff, and often with our parents and our loved ones, we see it because they're actually reflecting it back to us. If it has been healed within us, we wouldn't get upset about it. And so you will always know when you have learned your lesson from a person, from a place, from a situation, from a circumstance, because you may not like it, and you don't have to like it, but you will feel grateful for the fact that you had the experience. Okay? And because your mind doesn't understand the difference between reality and make-believe, which is what makes visualization so powerful, which is what makes hypnosis so powerful, which is what makes theta healing, which is just really a refined form of hypnosis, so powerful, is that if you can believe it in your mind and you can feel it, your nervous system believes it, and if it can believe it, they can take it on as a truth. And if you can say, okay, so would you like to know what it could feel like if you were born with this feeling so that you could understand that life would happen, but even as life, if life happens, that you can understand who you are, that you can remember what you are one and part of, that you can remember that you've got a choice and you've got an option. So you kind of go back, and in in traditional hypnosis, this is called timeline healing. So you go back, you imagine you're in the womb, you feel the feeling that you need to feel. And a lot of times our parents were under stress when we were, when you were in the womb. A lot of things can happen because as you grow older, you realize that, your parents didn't really have life figured out, same as us. Life is just life. And these days, we actually have more resources than our parents used to have. So, when we get to see how our parents actually didn't have the resources that we have, we can have compassion for them. And when you can have compassion for someone, especially for yourself, because a lot of us don't have compassion for ourselves, then you can start to heal, then you can step away, then you don't have to be a victim, you don't have to be a savior, you don't have to be a perpetrator. Because behind all pain, there is fear. You're looking for something. We're looking to feel safe. Essentially, that's what we want. We want to feel safe. You want to have peace in your life, in your money, in your business, in your love, in your health. We all want peace. That's what we want. Because peace gives us freedom. And when you have freedom, you have choice. So you don't feel that you are trapped in this gilded cage. All right. So that is really, really powerful. So in a theta healing session, which I promise you, whether you're doing it online, whether you do it in person, they are so powerful. A lot of times we convince ourselves that a session is more powerful if it's in person. That is a way of sabotaging yourself. Sabotage is a way of actually trying to prevent something from happening. So if you prolong it, maybe you don't have to feel the pain, maybe something's going to change. What if I'm disappointed? All of that sort of stuff. Okay? So, we guided into a beautiful state of relaxation. You can be laying down, you can sit up, no problem. All right. We do some beautiful body testing with you, like kinesiology techniques, which are so cool. Now, I like to share stuff with my clients. I share techniques with you. So as you go forward in life, you can understand this helps me, that helps me, that helps you, because I want you to do well. That is my goal. My goal is to help you and to share with you techniques. So if you book these 5 sessions, you pay for 4. Just make double sure whenever you see this that is still valid. But I share with you techniques that are specifically for you, for your benefit, so that you can, your life can get better all the time. All right. You don't have to go through exuberant preparation for your session. If it's an online session, you just want to make sure that you're in a space where you won't be disturbed, where you can have good hearing. So if you can't hear so well, you want to put on some earphones, because it's not that you must only hear me. I need to be able to hear you as well, because I'll ask you some questions. And this is really, it's almost like a form of focused prayer, really. Vinus Tybel, who's the founder of Theta Healing, describes it as a form of focused prayer, But it's beautiful. Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful, And if you are familiar with hypnotherapy, the difference between hypnotherapy and Theta Healing, and I really love both, but with hypnotherapy, and those are those longer sessions that I'm talking about now, past life regression, other dimensions, which does happen in Theta Healing as well, but that is more sort of like, with hypnosis, you follow the mind, okay? You see where it takes you. You follow the subconscious mind. With Theta Healing, you direct the subconscious mind. It is incredible. If you feel called to have one of these sessions, trust me, it will change your life forever. If you are serious about real profound change, because we heal in levels, book yourself those 5 sessions. My contact details are down below in the description. My name is Adrian Nelson. I'm a life transformation guide. And I'm very passionate about helping people live their best experience of life. So from my heart, namaste, love and light. Let me know what you think about the video. Share it with whoever you think might, benefit from it. And I look forward to meeting you on the next video, or maybe even hearing from you. Bye for now.